Croeso, welcome back to Boxing in Wales, the YouTube show dedicated to bringing you the very best action from the grassroots amateur boxing scene right here in Wales. I'm thrilled to introduce our first ever sponsor. Tom Sloan Artist produces special pieces of art like this. It's the fight that didn't happen, the fight that was supposed to happen. Will it ever happen? Conor Benn against Chris Eubank Jr. left us pregnant with expectation. However, you can remember this iconic episode in British boxing history with a piece of art just like this. I'm sure you'll agree, especially the right-hand side of this picture is dope. If you want to buy it, contact us on all social media platforms, find Boxing in Wales, and we'll be happy to accommodate you. This episode is also brought to you in association with Fitbag. Fitbag is the latest technology equipment that you can buy to aid your boxing training. It's interactive, it's creative, it's innovative, it's fun. My name is Dewi Powell. I'm delighted to be joined once again by trainer, manager, promoter, former amateur boxer, Mr. Richie Garner.
Pleasure to be back. Thank you very much. Wasn't expecting to be back so quickly, Dewi, but here we are. And obviously we've had a recent amateur show. I was also at the Towie ABC show in Cross Hands recently. And we had a fantastic weekend of pro boxing as well with the women and Deontay Wilder and what should have been recently the fight that never was.
The fight that never was. Chris Eubank Jr. against Conor Benn. Check out Tom Sloan Artist for all of the amazing prints you can buy there. Buy multiple, don't just buy one. And come to us to buy those prints as well. Richie, as you say, the boxing scene at the minute is thriving. It is so good to see these club shows all across Wales taking place so often as well. I know if the pandemic still kind of feels like it's lingering around, but boxing is recovering. Like it's the heartbeat is beating that by now.
Absolutely, and the one thing that this show has demonstrated is just how enthusiastic all the boys are, and the days of the kids in the pandemic being stuck behind their Xboxes and not being able to go out might be firmly behind them.
And we get off the mark with Cian Pope from All Saints Amateur Boxing Club against Marden Evans from Abergavenny Amateur Boxing Club. This was one of the main fights on the show hosted by Cwmcarn. We're at 75 kilograms in the youth age category. Let's get to it.
Come on! Stay tall, stay strong.
On the red corner, Cian Pope of All Saints ABC.
A second round stoppage there for Cian Pope. Richie, a really entertaining fight at this level. It was fun to watch, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Very much will over skill in that contest. What I will say is this. Evans absolutely did his best to match Pope, but he just wasn't quite there. A couple of little mistakes, things he can pick up from in the future. Perhaps when he's throwing his shots, he's leaving his hands just too far out, maybe a little bit too slow in pulling his hands back. Definitely when he was throwing the left hand, bringing it back to his waist, which is something you see a lot of amateurs do. It's a bad habit to get into, and you will learn the hard way. And of course, Pope did teach him those right hands over the top were the ones that did the damage. Maybe Evans for the future, just bring that left hand back a little bit quicker, bring it back to his face rather than his waist, and he'll have a lot more success. But certainly not lacking in heart. When he had the second standing count, he looked over to his corner as if to say, I'm not hurt, I want to carry on. And obviously a premature ending for him, but certainly not something he wanted, and he was more than willing to go on.
And it was a genuine reaction as well. There was no kidology with it. He was more than willing to carry on. It's probably, well, it definitely is experience, but it's probably just body language that betrayed him a little bit, and he'll probably learn from experiences like this, those little telltale signs that he's given off today, just how to mask them and how to hide them, because he possibly, when he needed a break, when his energy levels dipped and he just needed to get his second win, he probably let Pope know a little bit too much that he was in that stage.
A little bit of frustration as well, turned to his corner and obviously failing to disguise. No poker face there. Obviously very, very disappointed. Nevertheless, obviously he's got a lot to offer. He's quite a fit lad, you can see that. Pope just a little bit too much for him this time, but I guarantee maybe if he thinks just a little bit more about defence, maybe if he works that jab and brings it back to his face a little bit quicker, that would be a very entertaining return bout.
You took the words out of my mouth. We live in a small world in Wales, especially in Welsh boxing. If those two were fighting again, I think anyone who watches this fight would be keen, to get down to their local club and watch that happen.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, those are the type of fights which, once you've seen it once, the boxers go out and say, I fought Pope last time, this time I'm coming for the win. He's going to sell tickets off the back of that, which of course is the lifeblood of amateur boxing for clubs. Definitely though, I will say both boxers showing a lot of heart and will.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to see Mark Davis, 2021 Welsh senior light heavyweight champion, in the crowd. I've watched Mark at events just like this, and this really is a breeding ground that builds boxers.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And there's a lot of people that give back in respect to the coaching, etc. Kevin Evans up in Carmarthenshire, working the corner, despite the fact that he's got massive family commitments. Exactly the same. Gavin Rees, hugely active in the amateur boxing scene. It's great to see people with such great experience, whether it's amateur, because of course Kevin did everything in the amateurs, and obviously Gavin did everything in the pros. Both of those types of fighters heavily involved, giving back to the amateur community, helping to build grassroots boxing.
And we are back at 75 kilograms, but this time up for a senior bout. We have Ryan Morris from Caerphilly Amateur Boxing Club in the red corner against Henry Marsh from Grange Amateur Boxing Club in Cardiff in the blue corner.
Let's go, Ryan. Short turn, Ryan. Go on, Ryan.
By a unanimous decision, the winner is, from the blue corner, Henry Marsh of Grange ABC.
Henry Marsh from Grange Amateur Boxing Club taking a well-deserved decision win there, Richie.
Absolutely, yeah. Imposed himself straight away with the jab. Morris, a lot smaller, trying to wing in behind some big punches, coming out of a crouch, always difficult for him to get past. The size of Marsh, though, very imposing, great jab. You can see physically he's in great shape. Both the boys are in great shape. You can see they train very hard. But nevertheless, just not able to circumvent that jab, and ultimately the right decision is made by the judges, and he walks away with it.
He enjoyed probably a bit more time on the front foot. We often see boxers with long levers, especially in amateur boxing, use it to maintain that distance by backing off. He maintained that distance coming forward, which is quite an impressive trait, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Came forward, controlled the centre of the ring, imposed himself. What I would have liked to have seen Morris do, and I hope he takes something from this, perhaps in the future, maybe work side to side, a little bit more head movement, try to come underneath that jab, working side to side, and obviously getting his shots off. When he got his own jabs off, when his timing was right and he got his own jabs off, there's one jab in particular, I think it was in the second round, very, very strong jab, snapped Marsh's head back a little bit, and you could see he's got a lot of power in that jab, but he's just got to time it a little bit better and work in left and right underneath Marsh, who unfortunately did use his size and reach very, very well.
Morris, although under the cosh at different points, he did always kind of retain his composure. He never looked too flustered under pressure.
No, absolutely not. Never in trouble, really. Maybe a little bit tired towards the end, but of course, you know, all these boys are. They're not full-time. They're not pro athletes. You know, they're not given the pro conditioning. They're not given the pro diets. You know, these guys, they've probably got, you know, they're probably working or doing college or whatever. But nevertheless, both of them still very fit, strong lads. And, you know, even though a little bit tired towards the end, only to be expected, both of them gave everything they've got in a very, very good contest, thoroughly enjoyable. And again, perhaps if Morris was to come again and he worked behind his own jab, working on his timing a little bit, working on bobbing and weaving and working his way inside, something which we've discussed in the past, which I would have liked to have seen him do, because he looks like he's shorter, a little bit more of a powerhouse. You can see he's trying to score with those big left hooks. What I'd love to see him is to get inside, and perhaps if they ever had a rematch, get to Marsh's body, work the body up a little bit, throw some uppercuts on the inside.
There were times, though, where Morris used his... We often associate the jab with a taller boxer. There were times where we almost saw him get underneath Marsh, and those up jabs right through his guard. It's a skill set in its own, isn't it? A shorter boxer being able to manipulate the angle to out-jab a taller opponent. And although, you know, he hasn't done it over the full three rounds here, there were little snippets that, although he's lost, he can still take away from.
Oh, yeah. It's absolutely fantastic performance against perhaps a bigger, stronger guy. Never gave up, never stopped trying. And you can certainly take away from this that he put in a fantastic performance, just not quite enough. And if obviously he can just improve those little bits and pieces, that'll be definitely a good contest for the future.
And we saw in our last episode some really good up-and-coming talent from Grange Amateur Boxing Club. David White Senior in the corner. I know you know Junior well, having managed him as a professional. They've got a good thing going on there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And the contrast in styles between father and son is incredible. And when you've got that type of coaching where you've got two different types of styles, and obviously there's other people involved in that gym there, you know, it's a great little gym, great little setup. They're very inclusive. They bring everybody on board. It's not expensive to train there, like a lot of amateur clubs, of course. But they've got a big catchment area, and they've got a very, very busy, thriving gym. And as I say, when you've got that mixture of styles, David Junior was very much on the back foot, loved to work behind the jab. His father was a lot more aggressive, blood and gut style. And when you've got those two different types of coaching, you can very much tailor-make it to the boy that you're coaching or the individuals that you're coaching. You can tailor-make it to their style. The one thing I will say about Enzo Macronelli, whose gym is in Bonamine in Swansea, Enzo's a fantastic coach because I know there's a lot of coaches out there, they think that boxers should only fight one way, particularly in the amateurs, where they feel that the judges perhaps score a lot on aggression, so they want to see aggressive boxers all the time. I know Enzo doesn't coach that way. If he sees a fighter who's a great stand-up boxer, boxers on the back foot, he'll coach that and he'll make sure that he coaches to their strengths. And of course, when you've got a very diverse selection of styles within your gym, such as Grange have, then you know, you're always going to have somebody there who can teach you how they fought, and how best to adapt your style of boxing to your opponent. It's always good to have a plan B, but if your plan A is working, And if that's what you're great at, and if you've got great coaches who can instill that in you, then fantastic. And I know Grange certainly do.
And Marsh is one of those reaping the rewards of that, and with, as mentioned earlier, with a well-earned decision win. Next, we're at 54 kilograms for a youth bout between Ethan Williams from Pundit Amateur Boxing Club against Mabon Melbourne from Prince of Wales.
By a split decision, the winner is, from the red corner, Ethan Williams of Pundit ABC.
A decision win there for Ethan Williams over Mabon Melbourne. Richie, quite an entertaining contest. I think Mabon slightly guilty of holding his head up, and Ethan was there to take advantage.
Yeah, Melbourne out of the southpaw stance, maybe a little bit too upright. When he threw his jab, maybe leaning back with his chin, maybe come over the front foot a little bit more. Not completely over the front foot, obviously, we wouldn't want to see that, but leaning forward a little bit, chin not so high, working that jab, still trying to work the jab, but of course very, very aggressive, and just perhaps those hooks, those big shots catching him when he was at his most vulnerable.
I know there's some quality coaches down at Pundit Amateur Boxing Club. In the past, they've had Darren Wilson, there's Brendan Lyons there, Chris Davis too, and you can see that really solid schooling in what Ethan was trying to do.
Very composed, went forward, intelligent pressure, definitely able to negate the southpaw stance and work underneath that jab, which we discussed in the last contest.
It always impresses me as well when things get a little bit messy, which they did up close in the clinches, which the referee was on the case for those. But in those moments when it does get a bit messy, Ethan never really got frustrated, kept it, stayed on task, kept his composure, and possibly that was the difference in the end, is that he looked more comfortable in there.
Absolutely stayed on point, as you said, both of them falling in a little bit, especially at the beginning when they were both a little bit more aggressive, made for a little bit of a scrappy affair, but nevertheless wasn't lacking in entertainment, was it?
No, fantastic fight, and congratulations to both boxers.
By a unanimous decision, the winner from the red corner, Anton Agnes of Queen's ABC.
Anton Gius from Grange Amateur Boxing Club with a well-deserved decision win over Charlie Thomas from Cwmcarn Amateur Boxing Club. Richie, we don't often see amateur boxers at that age category, schoolboys, with so much strength.
Yeah, came forward, a lot of power, a lot of strength, great levers, used that left-right to great effect. Charlie tried his best, working the double jab constantly. When you've got an aggressive fighter like that, your coaches will tell you, go out, work the double jab, keep him honest, keep it long. Charlie just not able to keep him off, though. Like you said, Anton very, very strong.
I thought as well, at the start, I thought that his power was coming when he was fully extending his shots. Kind of saw him adapt towards the end of the shot. He went towards the end of the fight, went to the body with some authority, and a really well-rounded performance there from a Gius.
Absolutely, including, of course, a standing count in the second round. Charlie being caught with his head maybe just a little bit high, trying to work that jab, perhaps, as we've already said, leaning back a little bit with his chin in the air, and unfortunately caught and given a standing count, but nevertheless, battled right to the end, and a fantastic contest between two lads. Charlie never giving up in the face of a very, very aggressive, long-armed opponent.
A Gius obviously in the driving seat for the most part there, but Charlie, the eyes never lie. You could see he was always with it, always willing to be in there and do his best. And he can take a lot of heart from knowing he's got that basic raw ingredients that you can mould into, into a proper fighter.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And not only that, but of course you've got Anton as well, just moving away from Charlie, who is very inexperienced, but nevertheless showed a lot of maturity in relation to the way that he worked. Both fighters absolutely fantastic. Doesn't matter, there's no real losers in this contest in respect to the fact that they both had an invaluable experience which will set them well in the future.
Schoolboys, no doubt, but we look forward to seeing them continue in the future, and we'll bring them to you on Boxing in Wales. Francis Doherty from Panside Amateur Boxing Club, Welsh boxing royalty, takes on Isaac Williams from Abergavenny Amateur Boxing Club. This is a youth bout fought at 65 kilograms.
By a split decision to the blue corner, Isaac Williams of Abergavenny ABC.
A quality win there for Isaac, really imposed his size and his will with a fair amount of skill as well.
Absolutely, yeah, not bad footwork. What I will say is this, coming into this fighting one of Tony Doherty's sons, it would be very easy for him to be intimidated by the reputation that stands behind the boy. Clearly he wasn't, quite happy to mix it up with him. Doherty, more than willing, takes two to tango, and of course, he was doing his best and throwing leather all the way through that fight. What I will say, one thing he's got to take away from this, when you've got a guy who's catching you with the right hand, a little bit right hand happy, then of course, the last thing you should be doing is circling to your left, onto that right hand. Too many times...
With his hand low as well.
Yeah, too many times, hands low, chin in the air, circling onto that right hand, and he was more than happy to give him some medicine. Yeah,
and we could see from Isaac, he timed that right hook around the side on the turn quite a few times, and that was what resulted in the standing count.
Absolutely, yeah. Doherty turned to the corner. You could see he was upset because obviously he wasn't hurt, but nevertheless, taking that shot cleanly, no amateur referee is ever going to want to see fighters with a chin in the air taking shots cleanly. You're going to get a count for that, even if you're not hurt. Lesson for the future for him, hands up. If you're going to slide left, keep the chin low, keep it tucked behind your shoulder. You're going to avoid those standing counts. Nevertheless, very game, very, very competitive. Two great fighters, both of whom I'm sure will go on to achieve things.
It's another fight that was fought completely in the spirit it's meant to be fought in, and another fight where I finished feeling I wouldn't mind seeing that again in the future.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Doherty will want to avenge that. I'm sure he'll work very hard in the gym. His father wasn't just a great boxer, he's a great coach as well. He was at Lockett's gym for a long time, helping out there. He'll take his son to one side, I'm sure. He'll obviously instill in him a few more tricks of the trade. And in the future, that could be a fantastic contest between two boys who obviously aren't intimidated by each other and clearly just want to go at it.
Mm-hmm. Now it's time to show you the best of the rest. We've got a handful of schoolboy and youth contests coming your way and some skills exhibition bouts too.
Take it, all take it.
This was a schoolboy skills competition, so big hand for both the boxers. Well done for their efforts and skills. By a split decision, the winner is, from the blue corner, Oliver Davis of Cwmcarn ABC. And the winner of the bout is, by a unanimous decision, out of the blue corner, Tommy Jones of Plant ABC. By a split decision, the winner out of the red corner, Oliver Phillips of Cwmcarn ABC. And the winner is, by a unanimous decision, out of the blue corner, Martin Lane of Kole ABC.
Box. Go on, boys. Go on, boys.
Because this is a skills match, there is no winner, but congratulations to both boxers for an outstanding effort and a very short judge.
Make sure to like, comment and subscribe on this video on this platform on YouTube, and check us out across all of the other social media platforms. You'll find us under Boxing in Wales. If you've enjoyed this episode, then make sure you tell your friends and family on all the other social media accounts. You can also, if you want to mark this special occasion, because you've enjoyed this episode so much, check out Tom Sloan Artist. You saw that amazing artwork up front. Chris Eubank Jr. against Conor Benn. The fight that should have been but never was. Will it be? Who knows? But what we do know is that you can mark that special occasion with an amazing piece of art, maybe for yourself, maybe for someone else. Tell you what else you can also do. You can check out Fitbag. Fitbag is the latest innovative technology training partner that you can equip, you can put in your corner, and you can have a lot of fun with. And if you're another business or company who want to make sure that we return to please our growing audience, we're delighted to see so much engagement with, get in touch. We'll see you next time.